And welcome back to the TheNosePlays Endless Space 2. This is part 2 of our Angry Bird series. Continuing the game with the Hissho that we started the other day. I went back and I watched my video on the Hissho. And I have a couple of comments to make on my gameplay. Most notably on this ancestral reverence. So this is one of those situations where I had a very shallow understanding of the function of something, and the word salad that came out of my mouth, once I realized that I had a misunderstanding of it and was trying to clarify what was actually happening, was pretty amazing to listen to in retrospect. I now have a very good idea of what this does, and so I'm going to revisit my description of what this does and see if I can explain it a little bit better. So I'm just going to read it first of all. All of your production is consumed. 50% of your food and construction or industry is converted into 25% food and industry. Resources are transferred to the home system. Essentially what it does is it transfers 25% of your food and industry output on this system to the home system. But it does so at a cost. And the cost is basically you lose 25% of your food and you lose 75% of your industry. Now, how did I get to those numbers? Well, we can actually look at this by going over here, and you can see that we're making approximately 40 food and we'll just say 50 industry. Okay, what's going to happen is these values are going to be affected when I move this into the queue. What's going to happen here is 50% of the food, or approximately 20 food, is still going to be produced in the home system. The other 50% of food is going to be sent over here, but before it gets there, it's going to be cut in half. And only 25%, or roughly 10, are going to end up on our other system. This 50 industry is going to be cut in half, and then cut in half again, and 25% of this is going to end up over here. So half of this would be 25% of this would be basically 12, 13. So what we should see is we should see an increase of 10 food on our home system and an increase of about 12 or 13 industry on our home system. We should still see 20 food on the reverence system and 0 industry. And then since dust and science are sort of global pools that all just get piled into a big pile over here anyways, it's really irrelevant whether they get sent over or not. In this case, they do not. These are unaffected whatsoever. The one advantage you would have if they were is you could build the really nice percent bonuses only in your main system and take advantage of them. As it stands, you will not get any of the percent bonuses from buildings and other things unless you build them in this system. So that's still kind of important, but not as important. And so what this means in the long term is that this system will grow in population very, very slowly, but will continue to put out reasonable amounts of dust and science, but will cease to construct any buildings while you're running this law or this effect. because no production is actually happening in the system. And your home system will grow a little bit faster, and so your population on your home system can be accelerated fairly significantly, and your industry will be accelerated a little bit. So you're able to build things a little more quickly on your home system. I've been thinking about how we might take advantage of that, and one of the things that I'm considering doing is sort of pivoting to a strategy where we build a very, very tall, very, very well-developed capital at the expense of everything else. And there's a couple of ways that we can go about doing that. But just to verify my hypothesis, I'm going to go ahead and move this into the queue, and we're going to go back and check these numbers. And so you can see we're getting about 10 food produced here. So this is actually less than I was anticipating it being, and I'm not 100% sure why that is. Let's see how much we're getting over here. So we're getting about 14.8 food from Ancestral Reverence. 14.8 was a little bit more than I'm anticipating. That might be related to the percent bonuses to the law that we're running, because we are running the law that gives you 25%, so it might be affecting those numbers a little bit. And then we're getting about 12.8 or 13 industry, which is what I roughly predicted would end up over there. I think what's really going on is consumption. Well, it shouldn't affect the flat values here, though. I'm not 100% sure why the food is, why we're not getting 20 food here. We should still be getting 20 food. Unless it's working on the base number. I'll have to do some more investigating to find out exactly what's going on with the food there. I think it has to do with the fact that 6 food is being pulled for conscription, and 13 food is being pulled for consumption. And those numbers are actually calculated into the values that are being swapped here, which is why this is actually higher than it kind of looks like it should be. Let me see if I can figure that math out real quick. So this says that we're producing 39 food, but in reality we're producing a lot more than that. So we're producing 59 food. 59 is 60 food. And then we're consuming 13.2, and 5.9 is going to conscription. So if it's 60, then the number should roughly be 15, which I think is what we said was being sent over. That doesn't explain why we're only making 10, but we're actually not making 10. What are we making? So if I put this here, and then we do math the same way, we're making 49, 59. We're still making 59. Half of 59 would be 30, roughly. And then 30... I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. I can't seem to make the math make sense in my head. But the industry numbers did pan out, so it's got to be something to do with conscription or one of these other things that's making the math difficult. Needless to say, what's ultimately going to happen is this system's going to grow in population quicker and have more industry for buildings and ships. This system's going to grow incredibly slowly in terms of population, and will never get any buildings or ships in this system as long as you're running this. So, what are my plans? What do we want to do with this system? Well, one of the things that I pointed out in the video was that the quality of this system is really important to how effective funneling resources back to it could be. There are a handful of things that can really enhance a system, and having good planets is one of them. One of the ways that we can sort of fix the bad systems or the bad planets in our system is get to this technology. Primary terraforming allows us to create terraform planets, and we can actually terraform those not so great planets in our home system into maybe better ones. So one thing that we might want to focus on is rushing technology that allows us to terraform our system into a better one, and then using our colonies to then funnel more resources back and grow it at an accelerated rate. The other thing that we can do is, we already have some of these buildings, but we can grab these unique buildings which are super duper efficient in a system that has high population and high system level. So there's the intergalactic supermarket. We could grab that one. There is also a food version which we've already unlocked. Intensive cultivation. We could grab that one. I don't remember. There's a couple other buildings over here. This one. Here it is. This one is just +2 on all FIDSI, including influence, per population. And we could build that one. And if we get those 3 buildings down in our primary capital, the amount of resources that we're going to be able to crank out of it are quite phenomenal. The one downside to that is those buildings only affect our core population. And so these guys might actually need to be shipped off of this planet and off of this world and onto a different system. And my thought on that is, those guys really like hot worlds. Well, Rassam is just full of hot worlds. And so maybe we ship all the robots over to this system at some point. The Pulsos can enjoy the anomalies that are over here. 3 of the planets have anomalies currently. And we can get all of those minor civs off of our main capital at some point and move them over there. That might be really, really good for us. So that's sort of my tentative plan at the moment, is basically to sort of pivot and really focus on super duper putting everything back into this system. I don't think it makes sense to do that until we have some of our core buildings down. So I am going to go ahead and complete the construction of some of the basic buildings, and then some of the other core buildings like Xeno-industrial infrastructure, and maybe public-private partnerships, and definitely sustainable farms, because we want to send more food and have more food left over, so that this system does continue to grow. But yeah, I think that's kind of my game plan tentatively. Very unlikely that we're going to get to any of that this game, but we are definitely going to get to that. Okay. Over here we have a scout ship, so he'll continue to do whatever he's doing. And right here I currently have 2 ships queued up, and we need to build at least 2 ships with 257 defensive power. Out of curiosity, this Peregrine scout ship that we built earlier already had 298 defensive power. That has largely to do with the 2 flat cannons that we put on it, I would imagine. If we look at its ship design, I put the 2 flat cannons on it, and then I did add our upgraded shields that we found as a drop on one of our curiosities, which is better than any other shielding we could build at the time. So, we've already got 1 of 2 completed. As soon as this first Kestrel gets completed, we'll have completed this quest and get a random technology as well as a little bit of key. So that'll be nice. Trying to think if there's anything else. We're waiting a couple of turns for focused plasma before we build our offensive versions of these ships. Out of curiosity, what did we decide on for a design? And is there any other design that I would prefer? There kind of actually is a different design I would prefer, but we don't have the A2S siege modules yet. What I would like to do is probably run 1 siege module in each of these ships, because we're going to want to do sieging instead of using troops to defeat our enemies through an invasion. Also, the other thing that the Hissho could be really good at, that other factions would have more difficulty with, is wonders. This wonder produces key, it looks like. Increase key by 1 every turn for 20 turns. So basically it gives you 20 key over the course of it being built. That's kind of interesting. The nice thing is it's fairly easy to keep your key high as long as you don't expand too quickly. So maybe this is a really good building, and maybe some of the other wonders actually make sense. But because we can funnel industry from other systems back here to help get the construction done more quickly, I'm thinking that there is some real potential for basically focusing on unique and wonder class buildings in this home system. So I'm looking forward to giving that a try at some point here. I don't think there was a whole lot else that we needed to do at the end of this turn. I think we kind of had managed everything as much as we needed to. We do have a nice stockpile of blue cap mold at this point. We might end up using that for our system development. Alright. So, for whatever reason, we did a lot of things over the last few turns that garnished a lot of ecologist support. Not really sure what those things were specifically, but that's interesting. Being a dictatorship, we actually have the ability to switch to any of these parties that we want. I don't want to skip the election, but I would like to... I guess I can't jump out of here. It basically allows you to custom tailor your laws however you want them to be. The downside is you can have some approval penalties that come with running laws that are counter to what your population desire, which can be slightly problematic. One law that I'm actually kind of interested in maybe running is switching to the religious party, because there are some really good early game laws that can solve our dust issues. And dust is going to be a little bit of a problem for a while. At least until we get some things online. So let's go ahead and let's see what happens here. Alright. I'm curious, because we don't have normal approval, I'm trying to figure out, normally you have like an approval rating for your system, and it's affected by whether certain political parties are in power. But maybe that's not a thing for the Hissho, in which case that's a really cool benefit that allows you to really customize whatever laws you want at any given point in time and not pay any big penalties for it, as long as you're running a dictatorship. Huh. We can run that again.
Our purpose is to kill. Sign the deal.
We will be refusing any peace treaties. Alright, so the Righteous Fury gives us extra influence on planets, and it gives us extra experience per turn on our heroes. It also allows us to attack and invade enemy territory while being in Cold War, which is pretty cool and useful for us. In addition to that, I can run the Species Stability Act. This is the one that I was thinking of. It is much more accessible to us than some of the other ones because it doesn't cost key, and so we can run this indefinitely, as opposed to something like the Super Tax Act, which costs us key every turn, and we can't really run that indefinitely. But if I get in trouble with dust, this would be one way to fix that, at least in the short term, and maybe even the long term, because the upkeep is pretty low, and we do have a little bit of extra influence generation through a minor sieve and through some other things. +2 experience per turn on ships, and experience on heroes is another interesting one, but this one's a little bit more costly. Obviously, Hatched at Home would be great, but we can't really run that indefinitely without going into basically poor approval. But I think we could run this. And we're still quite positive on our influence per turn. But now our dust is much higher. Remember, we haven't built our fleet yet, and fleets are fairly expensive to get going, so this is going to help us allow for the building of these ships without running in the negative. I think that's a good plan for now. One of the few things that I could think of that would solve the dust issue that I know is coming our way. Let's go ahead and move all of our ships. Looks like we have a pirate here. 32 with laser weaponry. We have shielding. We should be able to beat this pirate in combat, no problem. We want to close to short range where his laser weapon isn't effective, but our flat cannons will be very effective. And there's no need to watch this. This should be good for us. Winning this battle did give us a little bit of key, which is nice. Alright, we now have discovered deciduous trees, and we've also discovered the home world of the Cravens. And if I'm not mistaken, Oh, nope, there's still some more constellation to uncover. Let's send him... Oh. We already have a ship traveling down that lane at the moment. So if that's the case, perhaps we send this guy... I'm going to send him there for now. And the reason I'm not sending him all the way back home is there's a chance we can get a probe out and touch one of these other arms or other constellations, at which point we can fly to it with that Roadrunner and get him scouting the next constellation. Alright, this guy sent a probe out that way and a probe out that way. Let's send another one out this way and continue to blockade that system for now. Is there anything else I want to do this turn? The fact that we're not running the 25% law, 25% free stuff law, and also not the shipbuilding law has caused us to take an extra turn to build these ships, which is kind of unfortunate. One little thing that I want to do, since we're not going to send these ships out immediately, this is a real min-maxy thing to do, but we can juggle these ships so that they don't actually get completed until they're all ready. And all that will really do is save us a couple of turns of upkeep on dust, or dust on upkeep. A couple of turns of dust on upkeep. So not a lot, but if there's no reason to get a ship completed because you're not going to send it till the entire fleet is constructed, then you might as well stall and do that a little bit. Also, I just noticed that because that Pulso arrived when he did, we are now about to max the population on this system. That's not a big deal for us because of the way that our approval system works. So we don't have any like negative approval penalties, but it does mean that in 12 turns, this system's going to be full and our food is basically going to be going to waste. And so I definitely need to get this done within the next 12 turns at a minimum. Alright.
Our purpose.
Nebula. Alright, he didn't quite make it there, but there are clearly two lanes, and it looks like it's going to branch into this arm. So there's probably more constellation, if not another constellation, out that way. Alright, back over here, and now we're going to get this completed in a single turn. Focus Plasma is still one turn away. I could go ahead and get our Hawk started, and then we'll just retrofit it since we do have the dust to do so. So I'll get 2 turns into the Hawk, and we probably want at least 2 Hawks. Do I want to use my industry? Yeah, we'll build them cheaper and then just retrofit them into what we want. I'll need to check if galactic commodities is really what I want for my next science, but what I want to do right this second. Actually, I'm curious why we're not running this. Yeah, that's a oversight. Should have activated that probably several turns ago. Galactic Commodities is probably correct because I want to get to this tier and unlock system development. And we talked about maybe grabbing this building to start working towards really upgrading our main system. But Ash Worlds do make transitioning to Lava Worlds a little cheaper, and we definitely need to get on Lava Worlds because we have one in the main system. So both of those are probably important. Also, this has not been done yet. And honestly, I think I just queued up the planet that has this in our home system, so we're going to need this sooner than later. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that on there, and actually getting it done before, or close to done before this finishes, will mean that as soon as we do get this planet unlocked, we'll be able to start collecting the Hyperion. Alright, so the Hawk is now one turn away. I'll move this one up. We'll get one turn of industry put into that. This guy should have another probe ready to launch. Looks like I can launch one out this way maybe. We'll just keep looking for another constellation. And then this guy's got two. I'm going to go ahead and launch one down each lane. Alright. And then we'll decide what to do from there. Obviously, our Roadrunner, we can reactivate this. There's plenty of territory for him to uncover again. And this guy, not really sure where to go yet, so I think we'll just let him sit a turn. Alright, I feel pretty good about that so far. One thing that I want to be aware of and cautious of is the Riftborn are really good at settling hot systems, so we're going to want to get on here pretty quickly. Because if they do start sending scouts this way, they could take this system very, very fast, and we may not be able to stop them. At least not without completely decimating our key supply, which probably wouldn't be worth it, but we'll see. I do have the ability to upgrade these designs now. And then the Hawk, we're going to want to upgrade this design. Alright, so out of curiosity, it looks like that's a forward facing. And then I have one defensive module or support module. We could go with the damage booster. Let's take a look at the details menu here, and let's take a look at the damage. So 55, 28, and 14, 66, 33, and 17. How does that compare to flat cannons? Flat cannons are really bad. Slightly better than flat cannons at medium range when in long range. These torpedoes only do 28, so they're not significantly better than these. We go with something like this, which gives us a little bit more even damage throughout all combat ranges. And then this list allows us to sort of dictate what range we want to engage at, depending on what the enemy weaponry is. I think this is an okay design for now. Alright. Anything else that I need to get done here? I don't think so. He's done his turn. Yeah, everything is done appropriately. Alright, so now this will be the turn that we'll get one or more of these ships completed. I'll move that one up in the queue since it will roll over the least amount, and we'll sort of drag this out a few turns. We're actually 4 turns away from this now, though. Okay, this could be good or bad for us. We could spend some manpower. Or we could just buy this out. If we buy this out, the nice thing is because they did put an outpost down, we will actually have 2 planets colonized once we buy this out. So one thing to keep in mind when playing against the Hissho is it can be extremely dangerous to try to race them because they can, in an instant, buy out any system they want. It does potentially tank their approval, but if you're playing against the AI, they may not care because of the benefits they get. I think we are going to go ahead and buy it. That was very costly for them. The problem is this. This scout ship now is going to be aware of a very nice system here that they're going to want to pick up very quickly. And that means that I really need to get my fleet constructed and get it up and running. Interestingly enough, we are still dutiful on system obedience, or approval, whatever you want to call it. But we did lose a turn here. I thought this said 4 turns earlier. Now it's up to 5. I'm not sure why that is, or if that's going to change over the course of the next turn. We were going to build ships here, but I already started the ships over there. If we're going to colonize that system, though, We do need to get a new Roadrunner out. And remember, we retrofitted our Roadrunner to have a colony module. So this is just a faster version of the Brood ship, essentially. So we can get one of those out in 4 turns. But the question is, can I get onto lava or desert planets in 4 turns? And the answer to that is definitely no. I would need 2 technologies from this tier, or 2 technologies from this tier to even have an option to research. This is going to take a while, which means we need to get aggressive with them. I think we're going to go ahead and go with that one. So I think I'll finish this. We'll go here, we'll grab this. And I'll see if I can race as fast as I can to get to that. Military ships. I have 7 command points available to me. We just built 4 ships, or have 4 ships partially constructed. So maybe we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? That's a lot of turns, but yeah, maybe we do that. That'll be a full fleet at some point, and we'll hopefully be able to defend this system and push into the Riftborn's territory and keep them from getting back here. Alright. Nothing for him to do this turn. I could move this ship up here. That would blockade our territory. The other thing I could do is I could use our influence.
We can shatter time on a whim.
Close
you
borders.
anger us at your peril.
We don't have to declare war because we can attack their systems without declaring war, since we were with the religious political party. Closing borders seems like a really good idea.
Do you enjoy disturbing us? We have nothing to...
Alright, cool. So now they're going to have a really hard time because they can't get a colony ship through this system without breaking the treaty and declaring war. This system, on the other hand, could experience war at some point in the near future, and so we're going to have to prepare for that relatively quickly. We'll get these 2 things done first, and out of curiosity, yeah, this is the better system for us to be on population-wise. Also, we're now going to be bringing in more titanium and more blue cap mold, so we're in a pretty good spot. This is a little worrisome. A little bit. Tiny bit worrisome. Managing this is something I haven't figured out the best way to do yet. What I do know is that once you get in a war, you earn a lot of these things. A lot of these points, these key points, are earned through combat. As you saw with the little pirate skirmish here, you get a lot more of those through invasions, through pillaging, through all kinds of stuff that we're about to do, but we're just not quite there yet. Alright, do I have any intel that helps me decide where this ship needs to go? Not really. I think we're just going to head down this lane. We just passed Yellow, whoever Yellow is.
The Oregon Federacy seeks only knowledge.
Well, there you
and
go.
a true place to call home.
Now we know who they are. So they had a scout ship over here. So this this constellation's getting a little crowded with 4 different players on it that we know of. 1, 2, 3, and now 4. Good thing we had our Roadrunner. Let us know exactly where everybody was. Dust is still doing well. We're going to need to retrofit ships here with some of it here. Pretty soon. Okay, so that Roadrunner is going to be ready for Rasham as quickly as we can make that happen, which is going to be a while, to be perfectly honest. And because of that, I'm actually going to delay that in favor of these other ships. I don't think there's anything else I want to put in front of the queue for that for now. This definitely needs to get done, but we can actually move one of these in front. Do something like that. Sort of stall as long as we can on paying upkeep costs, because these ships need to all move together anyways. 4 turns away. This is going to be done in 4 turns. It's all looking okay. Ah. Well, we know what this means. I can send a probe this way, or I can send a probe that way. Let's send the probe... Let's send the probe this way and just keep traveling down this lane. Our Roadrunner should be almost over here. I sent him this direction. Oh, there he is. And then we turned on... Yeah, so that's good. I'm actually going to direct him down that lane first, and he can come back and grab the rest of those. Alright, so far so good. What else do we need to do? I don't think there's anything else we need to do. We need more science. Maybe running the Blue Cat Bold as our thing isn't going to be that bad, because if I look at what we're struggling with right now, it's mainly science. Food is at about 90, industry's pretty high, dust is over 100-ish, but science is still down at like 60. And I'm not 100% sure why, but it's really bad right now. Perhaps we were living and dying by all those percent bonuses earlier. Alright, we finally finished this quest. Several quests. Xenology has been unlocked. Let's take a look at what is Xenology? Xenology. Ah, okay. So the Academy Embassy and Spin projects. Both of those have some value, but not a lot. Pirates are back to harass our Peregrine. This time they have brought the same laser weaponry that failed them, so that should be another flawless victory. And some more gained key. We unlocked a new law, it looks like. new law slot. Alright, invade and occupy one system. We're definitely planning on that. We could get the Wrath of Tanatsi, which is a upgraded beam weapon with a 10% crit chance, 19 DPS, and 5 free key. And we don't have an option. That is the one we're doing, apparently. We already knew that got completed, and we already knew this got completed, which was rewarded us with autonomous construction. I didn't notice. Where is autonomous construction? Actually, that's really good for us. We were planning on getting that one anyways. That also increases the size of our fleets and gives us mobile energy weapons. Which means we can equip our deployment of our faction with tanks. I don't think I want to do this because we're building so many ships right now. Those ships need to pull from this pool. And so we'll have to see what our pool looks like once all of our ships are completed their construction. And then we'll decide whether we want to upgrade any of this stuff, but I'm not ready for it just yet. Let's move our ships for now. What else can I do? Not a lot, right? We're just sort of waiting for things to get done. I do have the first ship constructed. It's 50 dust to retrofit these to the new design. I don't believe we've unlocked anything other than basic phase beams. Were these unlocked before? The only difference between these basic phase beams and the ones that we're about to get in this quest is that the quest version has a higher crit chance. Crit chance does not do what you would generally think it does. In most games, critical hits double the damage of the attack. That's not what happens in this game, to my understanding. What crit does is it completely ignores defenses. And so shielding and hull plating will be ignored whenever you roll a critical hit, and you will do full damage to the enemy as opposed to some type of mitigated damage from their defenses. Energy weapons don't make a lot of sense for us since we're running a kinetic enhancer. But just out of curiosity, we're running 50-ish damage all the way down the line. If we ran 3 of those, we would actually be running 64 damage potentially all the way down the line. The problem is we only have one forward-mounted weapon in. The way that forward-mounted and side-mounted weapons interact is not ideal. And so a lot of times you're only going to get 1/3 or 2/3 of the damage depending on the facing of your ship. We did get upgraded torpedoes though. Basic decay torpedoes are actually pretty good for us. And in fact, that makes me want to run something a little bit different. So maybe we run a flat cannon, a basic decay torpedo, and a swarm missile. And what this should do is give us high damage at long range, but relatively good damage at medium and short range. And then we can enhance that damage with the... yeah, that's much better. I like that a lot. This will help the swarm missiles will basically help soak up flak defenses and allow these basic decay torpedoes that actually have pretty reasonable damage to get through and land a hit. I like this design a lot better. So we're going to go ahead and add that. And then I don't know that there's much we want to do to change the design of this ship, but we did get... Is that what we have here? Yeah. And then these ones are still the same here. Okay, so we didn't get any new defensive modules that make any kind of an impact. So those ships can still remain with that. But I am going to go ahead and pay this. This will be a little more expensive now, 77. But that's okay. We have plenty of dust for now. Alright, so this is our behemoth action again. That's our probe. We're going to want to launch the probe again. And actually remember to do it this time at the end of our turn. Well, we found the Argosy. Also a curiosity. Small cache of red saying. We could attack the Argosy because even though it's in its home space, we have the religious faction, which allows us to do crazy stuff like that. I'm not sure if I want to pick a fight with the Vultures just yet, but destroying the Argosy can really cripple them. It's unlikely that we would ever be able to destroy the Argosy. I think what we'll do is just continue traveling through enemy territory here and try not to rock the boat too much until we're a little more ready to do so. And we are getting close to that point. Alright, we're one turn away from getting this completed. We're only going to lose one turn on this, which is fine. And then I guess Sustainable Farms is probably a worthwhile building, because we do want to grow food and interplanetary transport. As we start getting population on this planet, this building becomes much more efficient. And in fact, there might be a case to be made to move population from this planet over here, because with that building, the output of industry per population is actually higher over here, but not by a lot. This makes each population produce 4 extra. So it's actually about the same, because we're going to get 1 extra over here. So yeah, probably not any reason to move everybody over. Alright, galactic commodities are next. Hero has finished. That will help a little bit more. And this fleet and this probe are now ready for deployments. Alright, 300 dust and 2 titanium, not too shabby. This system is still quite a ways from getting these ships completed because the industry is much lower over here. We could remedy that by getting this building built, and that would increase the industry a little bit, but it's going to take 5 turns to get that done. And so I'm going to queue it up, but we're going to put it at the back of the queue for now. Alright, so this fleet is ready for action. My original intent was to head down here and take out these pirates as sort of a warm-up. I'm not sure that I want to do that now. Yeah, let's go ahead and still do that. part of the reason I'm okay with doing that is we're building the other half of our fleet up here. And actually we're up to 14 command points of availability now. So we can build very, very large fleets. But we can get this fleet up and running and then send it over to defend Rasham from any potential aggression. And then these guys can meet up with them later. Yeah, I like that plan. Alright, send these guys over here. Also, this guy can probably join them. Well, we're not hitting anything. Curious if there's any systems out here. That we're just missing? I'm not really sure why we haven't hit any other constellations. This can't all be one big constellation, can it? I suppose it's possible. Also, this has gone up a little bit. I'm not 100% sure what caused it to go up, but that's welcome. Alright, this fleet of 5 can merge together and head on down here to take out these pirates. We did uncover an asteroid field, which is nice. If we get enough influence, we should be able to grab that asteroid field and the extra industry. Well, we'll just keep moving down that lane, I suppose. One thing that I just realized is we do have this law we could be running, but is it worth the cost? I think it probably is, because... Ooh. I forgot, it's -3 now because we have 3 systems, right? 1, 2, 3, yeah. I was thinking it was still -1. Since we just passed it, I can't actually disable it, so we're going to have to run it for at least 1 turn. Also, we found Kairos. Oh my. The Vaulters were able to settle on an endless system. 2 oceans of steppes and a tiny barren world. That's quite ridiculous. Luckily, the barren world is one they're not going to be able to get on in the near future. And since I got a probe that went down there and uncovered them, I could go the other direction, I suppose. Marketplace luxury prices have increased. That's good for us. In a couple of turns, we'll be able to sell off some of our luxuries at a better profit, perhaps. Alright, a couple more turns and we'll be in our first combat. I actually could pay this to get a slightly better movement on our ships. It does cost 50 dust and 3 key. I'm not interested in spending it at the moment. Okay. Let's keep moving. So far, we haven't been attacked. The ship is still moving along. We're at turn 30, and he's uncovered quite a bit of the galaxy. Almost single-handedly, too. I had 2 of them originally. We ended up using him to colonize. This Paragon found a pirate. We should be able to win that. That is one of the reasons I outfitted our ships a little bit better. We gained a few resources and gained some experience. And we still have our ship. This booster will always be able to be run, considering how much of that resource we've uncovered. Send this probe this way, I suppose. And send this ship. Let's head over to Leo and throw some probes out in this general direction and see if we can't figure out where the other constellations are at. -5 influence per turn we could afford. Scientist political ideology is pretty much pointless. I'm not sure, since we're running a dictatorship, if these political ideologies have any impact on us whatsoever. I'm beginning to think that they probably don't. Yeah, this should work. Kill another one. Gain some more. I need to make sure that I activate this. And we've received the first population collection bonus, which is basically just an increase of militarist. But again, I don't... Normally, the way that the system interacts with these numbers, it would matter that your population is mostly militarist, but you're not running a militarist government. Because you would get the approval penalties for not having people in the right representation, basically. Not having people with the right representation. Maybe that doesn't matter for these guys. Which is kind of a dumb... In some ways it's a dumb system, because it's an entire aspect of the game that just gets completely ignored, but there's a lot of interactions with it throughout the game. Like, for example, that quest that popped up earlier is an actual decision for most other factions to consider. But for us, it's sort of irrelevant. It's just like, take whatever penalty is easier to deal with, because we don't really care about the politics. Curious. I'm going to leave them over there for now. I could activate spin projects, and that actually might not be a bad idea, because we're getting really close to running negative, mainly due to the penalty that we just took a hit on but this will offset that penalty for a little while. These are going to get done really fast. We could actually move into one of these other buildings. We're still a little ways from getting lava worlds, but I think I am going to rush the lava world over the desert world. So getting this could be helpful. On the other hand, putting this building up in that system that has no food is a way to mitigate the fact that it has no food and to actually get population there to get it to grow. And so I'm going to kind of go away from my gut, which is put all of these buildings in our home system and watch it thrive. I think we're going to save this for one of the other systems that could really benefit from it. And maybe instead we grab one of these two things. This will take 9 turns, this will take 13 turns. Let's see if we can get this done. And to accelerate it, I might actually run the whatchamacallit for a little while. Let's see. If I run that, this gets done in 11 turns now. So that actually does show up right away. And then this system can run that next turn and send a little bit more over, and maybe we get this done in like 10 turns. Let's try it. Let's try to race for the first wonder. Also, the mining can be activated again. Alright, we finally made it. Let's take a look here. We can reduce their defenses by 30 per turn. It's going to take a long time to get their defenses down to 0. I don't think we need to wait that long. But what we do need to do is at least get to a point where we have probably double their troops. So we have 440 troops to their 450. This is the point in time where we can consider converting all of our troops to tanks, and since all of our ships are outfitted, it'll take half of our current manpower, sitting manpower, but that's okay. We'll keep generating more. We just don't want to have any of our ships go short. And so I can confirm that change, and that will make us much more effective against their ground forces. And then, in addition to that, neither of these benefits really help. One thing that does help is being inside of this ring when we get these where's it at? Honorbound? Plus 40% gain after space battle under Key Zone and Behemoth. So it only counts for space battles, not ground battles, apparently. Okay, so I don't feel as bad about not fighting in the ring then. And then from here, I can launch a couple of probes. They're going to have a fleet in 3 turns. We're not able to interact with pirate scum. Other factions will be able to interact with pirate scum and buy pirate marks and all of that good stuff because the Vulture DLC is still active. And this ship is now completed. I can send it out this way and defend this system or blockade this system to ensure that nobody gets through. I think that's good enough. Yeah, I think that's good enough. Alright, so we're down to 10 turns. I think we should definitely get that completed. Out of curiosity. This should give us... We're rank 1 of 8. There it is. So, unless somebody buys this out, I think we should get this completed. Oh, look who we found. We found their shadow. Yep, enemy failed to retreat, so that's fine. Show the location of these guys. Interesting. So lots of minor civilizations over here next to the Vaulters, but they haven't really snagged any of them yet. So that's good for us. Did they just grab this system? Interesting. They colonized on a gas giant in a 2-planet system. Let's send a probe out that way. And I don't really want to be in Vaulter space. So I guess we head back this way. Alright, since we took out their scout ship, it probably makes the most sense to get over here and blockade on this system. And that way, if they send any ships over here, we should be able to shut them down. They shouldn't be able to send ships down this star lane. And so we might even blockade at Doucet. But we'll see. The probe needs to be launched. And that wasn't enough to get this down. Because I am running the Reverence Act or whatever, we can go ahead and continue to run excuse me, run that law, because the ancestral reverence in these two systems is causing them not to count, and so I can buff this quite a bit. I guess the question is, at what point do we want to drop our troops? Our troops are really capable. It'll just take more turns. But I think that's okay, because we benefit from ground forces fighting. And so even an even fight isn't very even when we're using tanks and they're on foot. Yeah, let's just go ahead and drop our troops. We can always hatch more birds. Alright, so we have a couple of options. Guerrilla warfare is not really an option. Blitzing is only an option if we actually have a large enough force to take advantage of it, which we don't. In fact, our force is so small that even the penalty that you would normally get from preemptive bombing doesn't affect our deployment. So there's absolutely no reason not to use this. And that's just going to make us even more effective against their troops. Let's go ahead and watch this one. Look at our bird mobiles. Blow up 10% of their force before they even get to shoot a gun. good. So yeah, this will only take 2 turns basically to take them down at this point. One more combat like that and we will have won. Amount of ki you gained or lost from this ground battle was 0. Interesting. We'll continue the invasion for now. And end the turn. No need to watch this again. This time we wiped him out. We got 10 ki, so 10 approval basically back on our system, and we seized loot. And actually, because of our pirate scum trait that we just don't like pirates, we actually get a perk of double the loot. So most factions would have only gotten 20 loot here, I would presume. So that's cool. Also pirate lair, which is a neat little anomaly that shows up after you got a lair. And it offers dust and industry. Also, there is a ground battle remains curiosity here, and we actually have probes. So let's see what it is. Another titanium load. Interesting. So we got a bunch of titanium, like 60 titanium from that. That puts us back on top with titanium, so I was a little concerned about titanium at one point in this playthrough. Not so much anymore. We also got the Miners Union and G Goods Exchange done. And we found a quest curiosity on Mizar 3, which will cost us titanium to search. Perhaps we should stick around and search them. Also, mind matters. We could get some extra influence per turn, or we can get extra experience on our hero. 100% experience on our hero is going to be really good because we're going to complete that wonder, and wonders are worth a ton of experience when you do finish them. So getting double on that wonder would be fantastic. Also, just to make sure, we're still rank 1 of 8. So we're in a pretty good spot. I'm going to wait for my probes to regenerate before we send this fleet back. And yeah, things are starting to come together. I think I am going to go ahead and move him forward. Just because we have closed borders, that makes travel for them really difficult. Alright, did we finally uncover the entire constellation? I think we did. Take a look at this bad boy. That is a huge constellation. And that was all uncovered in 35 turns by a single roadrunner and a scout ship with probes that ended up over here at some point late in that. But yeah, that's the power of these really fast ships. They're just able to scout so much better than anything else. So now what do we do with them? Well, I have 2 options. Option number 1, bring him back to our home system, retrofit him with a colony module, and use him as a colony ship later on. And that's not a bad one. We did that with one of our other roadrunners. The other option is get this ship to actually land a probe on another constellation, which I just don't think is going to happen until we get like down here. I think we're going to have to like shoot a bunch of probes into the center, and that's how we're going to hit, because there's going to be one that runs this way and one that runs this way. Maybe from Canis we could get it. So either way, I think it's going to be a little dangerous for this ship to head down that way, because that's Craver space. And also there's pirates in the way. And then I guess the third option is we just sell it for cash and manpower. It's done its job. It's done as much as it can do. The amount of dust that it's costing us per turn is also of consequence. It's probably only costing us 5 dust per turn. Yeah, because it's the ship with the most movement. So at 5 dust per turn, it's actually kind of a drain on our resources if we're not doing anything with it. I think maybe this is a good time to retire this ship. Well done. Come home. This one, on the other hand, we are going to try to use to grab a constellation. So I'm going to send this guy back over this way, I think. We might be able to launch it from here. Let's get to Kuma and make a decision from there where we want to send him. If he can get there. If he does, he does. If he dies, well, that happens too. Alright, anything else? We're waiting for probes here. I did launch my probe there. And we're at 7 turns now. One of the problems we're going to face now is because we're no longer exploring, we're not getting the trickle approval that we were from that roadrunner, which was keeping us positive through a lot of this. An unknown empire got 20 star system improvements before us. That's not too surprising. Also, a Haroshims has grown on the system of Iena. Cool. And we now have probes here. Only 1 probe, though. We're going to have to wait a couple more turns for the other one. Alright. 100 dust secured. Show me all the isolated nodes. Are there any? Do not appear to be any. Alright, we already did that. Fleets can move to their new locations. Oh yeah, there is one over here. And there's one over here. Where else? That's it. Oh no, there's one over here. Okay, so there were a couple. We're just kind of cranking through turns now, it looks like. No probes yet.
Tell us what
They're wary of us. We did get this reward, which is nice, and also the 150 influence. Mining probe has ended again. Population lost. Why are we losing population here? Interesting. We're sending so much food from this system, but I guess we're actually losing population? This is getting quite full. We may want to grab Tundra real quickly. That would be this technology. And I can actually do it first, or we can get this first. How important is it that I colonize Ash? Not that important. The troop health also doesn't affect us quite yet. So yeah, let's get this first. That has more value because then we can start growing more population over here. And the pirates are back. How convenient. That has to be an oversight. There needs to be a timer. So there are regular intervals throughout the game where pirates seem to spawn. I don't know what the exact math is, but it seems like they always spawn around turn 12. And then at various other points in the game, they will respawn. If you wipe out a pirate system, there should be like a delay for that system coming back. You shouldn't be able to literally wipe a system out and then immediately have it repopulate, which I've actually had happen. The turn after I eliminate a pirate, it immediately comes back. That can be really annoying. And it's a frustration I've heard voiced by many other players. Interesting, we got a free shuttle. And it actually has a movement of 5. Let's take a look at it. I guess I can't look at it here. I have to go to this screen. Pretty sure it's this one. Okay, we can actually mouse over the module. So it has a warp drive, ultra slugs, missiles, ultra slugs, and plating. It's actually not a bad ship. We'll go ahead and merge it, and we'll do this again. They have 600 troops this time. Our total invasion force is going to be smaller than last time. But we did get that other ship, so actually it's larger than last time. We should be able to accomplish this in 2 or 3 engagements. And we will preemptively bomb again. This time we actually have enough of a force that we would actually have more troops deployed if we went with guerrilla or blitz. But bombing does enough damage against infantry that it's usually worthwhile to do it. And we'll just do this a couple more turns and we'll get them again. More free loot for us, more free key for us. We've actually pushed this all the way up to 63.5 now. And I've unlocked this, which I think we should definitely activate because the industry output is going to be super significant and it will allow us to get this done in basically 2 turns instead of 4. Alright, not quite 2, but 3. And then because we got that, I'm going to go ahead and get this building queued up. We're going to grab it next, and that will be very helpful for us. We'll get the bonus experience, which we desperately need. Possess 2 ships with an attack value of 285 for 30 Hyperion. In less than 20 turns, generate 259 in one of your systems, or hoard a bunch of dust. This will happen in like 2 turns if we do it, and we don't spend any dust. So let's just take the easy one. Again, it doesn't seem like we care about political influence at all. It just doesn't seem to affect us. pirate ship spawned in Mizar. We already knew that. Are there more curiosities here? I think we got them all, right? Yeah. So now it's just a matter of running through that engagement again. Ah, they did try to take Doucet. We got here just in time. We are delaying them 47 turns. And if we get some more ships over here, we can actually get this to run negative, and they won't be able to do much about it. But that means that I do need to maybe disable that and get these done. I don't have any way of really accelerating this. That would take 4 turns. Or we just get this done in 3. We'll just do it that way. That does cost us a turn here. It also puts this at -2 per turn, but we can run that negative for a little while because we're about to get a nice big stockpile from this. Alright, it's going to take 1 more turn to finish them off. No big deal.
For your deeds, a special place in the void awaits you.
The Time Lords are not happy with us, but that's okay. So 10 more key. This time we got 60 Jadonics and 60 Hyperium. That's actually pretty cool. And we have a probe. Send it out that way, I suppose. And I suppose this fleet can now head back over here. It's going to take quite a few turns to get over there. However, I do have the dust and the key to go ahead and activate this. So I guess we will. How do I click this on a fleet? More banners. Or do I click this on a system? I'm not 100% sure. I guess we'll have to wait and use that maybe in a second. Alright, atmospheric filtration is now being researched and is almost completed. Once that's completed, we could go with the lava worlds, which we really need to get to quickly. I think that's the next thing. Alright, and another political survey, which is completely pointless. Is there anything worth activating? Law-wise, from any of these other political parties? I kind kind of like running the religious laws, to be perfectly honest. We don't have to pay for war. We get the dust, which helps us quite a bit right now. The only other one I could kind of see maybe running would be the scientist one, to run the Dirty Hands Act, which basically gives us even more industry benefits. And speeds up some of our building of these big wonders and whatnot. But I think the dust output is too helpful right now, so we'll just keep running that. Didn't get any new laws unlocked. Lots of stuff going on though. So that's already been queued up. Economic trade. We now have access to our empire development. And now I actually have a real decision to make, because we got that big cache of Jade Onyx. And since we're sort of funneling everything to our home system anyways, I only have enough Jade Onyx to do 2. If we look at the marketplace, Jade Onyx is expensive, but I would only need 15 in order to get the 3rd set for system development. That would give us 75. That would allow us to do 3 sets of Jade Onyx. That is worth doing. And that will definitely improve the rate at which we get some of these things done. So I don't know that I've ever been happier to wipe out pirates 2 times in a row than I have been in this game. We got the extra approval key from doing it twice. Didn't cost us anything but a few turns. And then this Jade Onyx load is really going to help out in a lot of ways. I am going to run it after this because we're going to complete this in 1 turn. And I'm not going to delay that. But I'm also going to queue public-private partnerships and get that in the queue. And we'll probably get this mining going at some point as well. Alright. We got one of these done. This is going to help out a ton here. And these are going to get completed a lot more quickly. Get that ship on the move. We still want to build that Roadrunner, I suppose. And I still want to build that. Interesting. Sacrifice a population to generate 50% dust for 10 turns. Also adds 5. Alright, what do we want here? More dust. More capacity on Empire. I think we just keep pouring points into industry and food for now. Population in our home system is currently large enough that it makes sense to do that. Alright, this is an important thing that has been unlocked for everybody now. So behemoth technologies are currently available. We definitely want to deal with that. This is all good stuff happening here.
For your deeds, a special place in the void awaits you.
Okay, they're getting aggressive with us. We don't have any intel on their ships yet, so it's kind of hard to say how prepared we are for them. But, oh man, I forgot to do this again. Well, let's go ahead and do that. And this is perfect timing because technology-wise, this is the very first thing you want to grab. As soon as that research gets done, as soon as the military tree gets filled out enough, you'll want to grab this. What this allows us to do is it allows us to retrofit that behemoth, and it also just automatically adds one per pop of all the base fidsies minus influence. So this is a pretty good little thing that we want to get. This is a planetary specialization. So this is sort of like the spin projects that we activated. But it's much better than most of the other ones. And this is unique to the Hissho. Also, it looks like it costs 25 approval, which kind of sucks, but we're actually high enough that maybe that's okay. Because we're pushing up into the 70s. Alright, is there anything else that I want to do this turn? This system definitely wants to get that done. And then, what else do we want to do over here? This building and this building both produce a reasonable amount of industry. We can drop that for a moment. And then just get the core, just get all the core buildings that we have available to us constructed. This system should be pretty good once it gets up and running. Okay, 6 turns until Behemoth Blueprints. Ooh. But I really wanted to grab this too so we could colonize that other planet. Ooh, 12 turns. Well, I think the 6 turns to get the Behemoth Blueprints are going to be worth it, because it's going to allow us to enhance our science. This building is going to enhance our science, and a number of other buildings that we're working on should cut the number of turns that takes down by a substantial margin. Also, over here, this is filled out again. This needs to probably be rushed. And he's already leveled up again. And that's the advantage of that double XP that we activated earlier. So that one building getting constructed. This one here. Objective achieved, and that should help our science quite a bit. In fact, just to double check, this was at 18 turns earlier, now it's down to 15, so yeah, a couple turns off of that, just from that one building. And we're going to get a lot more here very quickly. Our science has kind of struggled. Somebody finally decided to leave a comment in the chat. Pedro says, "Hi man, multiplayer question mark." I haven't played a lot of multiplayer in Endless Space 2, to be perfectly honest. This game is not multiplayer. This is strictly just me trying to learn how to play the Hissho for my viewers. But I'm interested in maybe giving it a try. I've heard there's still a lot of problems with desyncing, which is very frustrating. I did play a little bit of Endless Space 1 multiplayer, and that game was, from my experience, very stable and never really had any desyncing or crashing problems. So at some point, I'm definitely interested in maybe doing some multiplayer, perhaps with some of my viewers. But right now, I mainly just do this for educational purposes and to kind of share my thoughts and strategies with the community. So that's what we're doing tonight, and this is definitely a learning experience. I am not an expert with this faction at all. Don't have any clue how to really use them effectively, but I'm learning how to do it. I'm coming up with some better strategies and slowly figuring them out, I think. I'll tell you this much, they're a lot more complicated to me than the Riftborn were. The Riftborn have some very obvious strategies that seem to pan out pretty well for me in my last series that I just finished up recently. Alright, now that we have some of these science buildings completed, yeah, we've cut that down quite a few turns. So I'm liking the looks of that quite a bit. And I'd really like to get in a position. Let's go ahead and stop them there. I'd really like to get into a position where okay, I keep losing my train of thought here. I'd really like to get into a position where we are basically, at the end of this video, ready to initiate war on the Riftborn, which will leave you guys all something to look forward to when we pick up this series in another day or two. Also, this guy managed to get over here, and the Riftborn are trying to colonize this system as well. There is a curiosity over here that we can try and scout. So I'm going to go ahead and send my ship down here and hope that they don't have any ships there right this second. And maybe we can even get a couple probes off towards the center here, or get over to Volans and send some probes out towards the center, because the ones that I have right now just don't seem to reach far enough. Okay, 2 turns away from Behemoth Blueprints. That'll be a good way to wrap up the video, I think. We'll do the respec of the Behemoth. Alright, I now have these ships that I can bring out and combine with this fleet. If I click on it, we'll pay the cost to retrofit, but before we do that, let's just double check our designs on these Hawks. I think this design still makes the most sense, and we don't have any new modules to add to these ships. And then the Kessel also looks pretty legit. And we'll just hope that they don't have too many kinetic defenses. So we will pay that upgrade cost. I have 2 probes here. I could launch some probes. Oof. I guess I'll launch one and save the other one because I want to save some of our movement. It looks like all of our movement has actually already been consumed, so we launched that one that way. I guess we'll just like launch this one out that way maybe. We'll see if we can't hit anything. And then I want to queue up the extra movement on this fleet. So I think if I click this, can I click on the fleet? Or do I click on here? Okay, cool. We click on the fleet. You just have to activate it while they're in a system. You can't do it while they're in a starway. That's what I was wondering earlier. So now this fleet should have significantly more movement, and we should be able to get here much quicker starting next turn. And I probably should have activated that not this turn, but the turn before, we're actually going to lose out on a turn of movement because of it, it looks like. But that's not the biggest deal in the world. Also, our Roadrunner got completed. Did we? We did. We attached the Roadrunner to this fleet. I don't actually want him attached to the fleet because I just want him to stop here and colonize this system in a couple of turns once we're able to do that. Alright, the mining has ended. Kind of knew that already. Is there anything else I want to run right now? I don't think so. I think we're in a good spot. Oh, this guy. Probes. Yes. Launch that probe. And also... let's see here. Launch one that direction and head over there. Alright. Just a couple more turns and then this video will be coming to its conclusion. Ooh, got out of there just in time. That pirate just spawned. Okay, you can just kind of sit here for a few turns. That's going to give us the colonized lava, which is fine. Also, colonizing the lava will unlock this planet because we're about to hit the population cap. You can see we're growing population very quickly here. Anything else I need to do this turn? Yes. The behemoth. The economic behemoth in particular is the one that we want to look at. So, obviously, this core design is pretty garbage. This is what we started with. We get a flat 10% bonus here. We get a really crappy flat cannon, some poor engines, some poor defenses, and a really, let's be honest, pretty garbage mining probe. The only thing that this probe is really good for is grabbing strategics and luxury resources, which we didn't do because the value of that is not as good as just getting 10 flat in all of the 4 major fidsies. So I have the option of doing a couple of different things. I could run 2 mining probes, which allows me to grab more strategics or luxuries from systems that we are not currently near, or I could replace this with a second one of these, which just gives us another 10 flat. So this will actually give us 20 industry, 20 dust, 20 food, and 20 science in whatever system that it is hovering over. And I think that's probably the better way to use this, at least at this point in the game. So I want to retrofit those. As far as defenses, there's a number of different weapons we could use. Flat cannons have the most value, I believe, in the early game at least, because they also defend against missile fire, which is one of the few things that can bring your behemoths down pretty quickly if you're not careful. Finally, there's an engine module, but since we're hovering in a system and we don't need to move, we could actually go with that, and that's going to give us 30 industry, science, dust, and food per turn, which is pretty solid. And then we can upgrade the hull plating and the shields and give it a little bit of defense from both. And this makes this a really good just resource generating probe. Dan asks in the chat, what would you say are the most important strategic resources? What would you go out of your way to grab? I think that it really depends on the faction that you're playing. Generally speaking, you need to have some type of resource generation for all of the major strategics at some point in the game. And the reason for that is the ship designs, as you go higher and higher in military ships, all require higher strategics to build. So for example, you cannot build medium class ships without titanium and Hyperion. You can't even put them in your queue. You have to have a certain amount of those materials just to build the base design. Even if you strip it of all the modules, you have to have some. You need the tier 2 strategics, adamantium and antimatter, for the bigger ships, and quadronix and orichalcix are used in a number of the really expensive buildings and wonders. So they're all needed to various degrees. The Vaulters in particular really value titanium and Hyperium in equal quantities. The Riftborn really value them as well, but mainly titanium because they use titanium to run their singularities, which is an extra expense for them. As far as the Angry Birds, I haven't really come across anything that really screams super important. Must have this or that or the other. The one thing I will point out that they do have that's interesting but not really mandatory is this module. The Advanced Support Siege module is a slightly better version of the normal one, and it does require titanium. And so because of that, it's probably one you're always going to rush. And so titanium would be your preferred tier 1 strategic in the early game so that you could get to this quicker and outfit more ships with it. But other than that, your needs are really going to be based on what's available to you, what's easy to grab, and what your current level of technology dictates. Right now, we're just sort of stockpiling both because I don't have any need for them. But I will in the very near future because we're going to be building pretty massive fleets and hopefully out of medium class ships, which take both titanium or Hyperium depending on which hull type you use. So if you stay tuned for the next couple of videos in this particular series, you'll probably see me point out when we're using up these resources and how we're going to mitigate that in the future. At the moment, we have a pretty good... hold on a second. Let me go ahead and apply this design. At the moment, we have a pretty good income of Hyperium per turn, but our titanium was pretty bad until more recently, where I took over Mayal. So having 2 systems now with titanium makes me feel a little bit better about it. So yeah, we'll just have to kind of pay attention to it. But as far as which ones are most important, it really depends on the faction and what you're trying to do with it. Hopefully that answered your question. Alright. So ending that turn. Yeah, no problem, Dan. Dan says, thank you, still new to the game. Have been playing Umbral Choir lately and had a game where I hadn't grabbed antimatter and it really stopped me in my tracks. That's absolutely correct. Missing a particular resource or having a very small amount of it can really hamper certain things that you want to do within the game. One way to alleviate that is to go to the marketplace. So if you just don't have any access to it, you can usually go to the marketplace and you can usually buy some, but it's often extremely expensive, and the more you buy, the more expensive it becomes. So that's not really a long-term solution, but it can, in a pinch, get you what you need to do a small task. Our hero is leveling so fast right now. It's kind of crazy. So I just thought of one thing that I hadn't thought of until just now. This is a militarist hero, and so if we take any of these abilities that give him extra bonuses if he's a political leader, he will only get those bonuses if we go back to using a military government. So that is the one consideration that you might want to make when you are picking a governor and picking skills for your governors with the Hissho. The political party that you pick needs to match at least one of your governors if you want to put points into these like on Senate abilities. Because right now, if I grab any of these, he's not going to actually provide them to us until we switch back over to a military. Probably just go with this, right? 10% dust is probably the best choice. Influence seems mediocre, and I don't think it's time to switch him to a fleet commander, if we even decide to do that. So one other thing, Dan, if you're still there, is miners buildings, these miner unions. There's a couple of different upgraded versions of this. If you do have a system that produces a small amount of a resource like this, you can use these buildings to enhance it. There's also a specialization somewhere in the industrialist tree that will also increase the output. And you saw me use that to great effect in the Riftborn game that I just finished up a couple of days ago. So if you go back and watch my Riftborn series, you'll see me use that ability to get more strategics so that we could really pump out those titanium singularities. We're actually going to run the Fealty Center. This one is going to give us a lot of resources. +1 per turn. Is that worth it? I mean, it's pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 of each. It's 28 resources. And then I could do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The problem is it costs 25. I'm going to have to think about that because we're only at 62 and we are losing a little bit per turn right now because I'm not able to scout like we were earlier. So maybe I'll hold off on upgrading that. The thing that we won't be holding off on is we are going to be building another behemoth very soon. I don't know where it tells us our limit on behemoths. Or does it? Oh, here it is. We have 1 of 2 available. Cool. So that's good to know. You increase behemoth count by 1 every 3 behemoth technologies researched. The industry cost increases every time you build one. Dan comments, cool, I just had to shift focus completely to rush sanctuaries and sleepers as antimatter was prohibitively expensive at the time. Yeah, if you can't find a system that has it, it can become very difficult to get it. One other way that you can do it, it's not as easy in Endless Space 2 as it is in some of the other Endless games, but you can actually make friends with somebody who has access to it and trade for it. And that's one other way to get a hold of resources that you need. The AI and diplomacy in Endless Space 2 is lacking, to say the least. It's not great. Especially compared to the way that the AI responds to diplomacy in the ELCP mod for Endless Legend. Those guys who developed that mod are legendary, in my opinion. They did such a good job with it. It's not a great option, and you're usually going to pay a lot for it, but that is one option, especially if you have a lot of influence. And as I recall, the choir can get pretty deep pockets when it comes to influence. So it might be something you could try in the future in that same predicament.
For your deeds, a special place in the void awaits you.
We will be refusing any request
For
by
your
the
deeds,
Riftborn.
a special place in the void awaits you.
I think I'm going to end the video on this turn, so I'm not actually going to queue up anything there yet. Well, I want to queue up a ship. I'm probably going to queue up a military behemoth. What would a military behemoth look like? First of all, that is interesting. So the military behemoth actually has different modules. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 weapon modules, 1, 2, 3, 4 defense modules, but only 1 support module, although this one doubles as a support. So technically 2 supports, 3 defense, and 4 attack. Well, how would I want to go about? Put some guns on this bad boy. Put some torpedoes and swarm missiles. Kinetic enhancer. An engine. And maybe just go one of each for now. That could be good. Oh, we have another defense slot. Let's go another hull plating. Not scientific, military. There we go. 2 turns to get that constructed. That's pretty sweet. We're in a pretty good spot with that. Alright, I like that a lot. I think... Did we get over here? Yeah, this was the message we dealt with at the beginning of the turn. I've got 1 probe. Boy, this might be my best chance to get a probe on this other constellation. We really need to do that. And then I'm going to put him to sleep in their territory. We're going to try and grab those 2 curiosities and gear up for war over here. So our fleet is inbound. They have a movement of 7, which is nice. This ship is ready to colonize as soon as we get the technology that we need. This guy is just... Oh. Well, let's do a couple things here first. First and foremost, let's zoom to the appropriate level here. Let's get that mining probe out. And then let's go ahead and retrofit him for 700 dust. That should change him over to providing 30 bonus instead of 10 for food, industry, dust, and science. Science being the one that's probably most important to us right now. Looks like that actually pulled a turn off of this. And that will be our last mining probe that we'll have to deal with for a while, because I'm probably not going to use mining probes anymore. And there are some behemoth techs that we definitely want to look at. So when we start next game, we'll look at behemoth techs. We'll make sure that our ships are all ready for war. We'll probably transition to medium class ships. And we really need to get our science rolling. Because as you can see, we're running out of things to build besides ships. And that's not a bad thing, because we're going to need a lot of ships, but a lot of ships also means we need a lot of income. And right now, we're still positive on income, but that's going to get a little bit trickier over time. So we're definitely going to have to find ways to increase our income. The laws that we're running are helping at the moment, so that's good. And then the final thing is, if we do get another hero here pretty soon, which we should be getting one soon, we're going to want to look for a religious hero in case we want to take advantage of any of those religious Senate buffs that only happen when you're on a Senate seat. So we'll take a look at all of that in the next one. Thank you for joining me tonight, Dan and Pedro. Always glad to get commentary while I'm playing. And I hope you are enjoying the series. I hope you continue to like and subscribe the videos so that more people see them, get out there and watch my stuff, and hopefully learn to play the game a little better and enjoy the game, because it's a really fun game to play. Until next time, this has been TheNosePlays, and you guys have a wonderful evening.